Hey, friends! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. Come join me, your host, Nicole, for some hope-filled conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing. Hey, Hallmarkies! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, joined today by a very special guest, screenwriter Wendy Jackson. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm so
Hi,
excited to
thanks
have you
so
on the
much
show
for
today.
having me. I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Yes, me too. I'm excited to have you on the show today.
Oh, I can say from all of us at Crown Media and my entire crew and cast, we are just really honored to be able to do this with you and talk to you about a movie that we love.
Yes, it looks great, and I'm excited to chat with you about it today.
Thank
For those who don't know, you and I first met in 2019 at the University of Georgia when I was attending classes as a guest with my dad. He was working on a master's degree in screenwriting, and you were in his graduating class. In fact, I believe it was graduation week when I was there.
you.
I loved that experience, and the table reads were just fantastic. They were great and so much fun to experience. My dad says that you are his favorite classmate. He says that your air of confidence is inspiring and infectious. So,
Oh,
do you feel like your time at the University of Georgia provided a strong foundation for advancing your career as a screenwriter? And would you recommend the program to other aspiring writers?
absolutely. University of Georgia. I'm a native of Georgia anyway. So, but that screenwriting program really kind of gave me the ability to hone specifically my craft. Needless to say, I am what I call a late bloomer. I always say I raised my kids first. I made sure that they were in school and got out of school. And then I decided to go back and get my MFA specifically in screenwriting. But I would recommend the program to anybody. I would say that you do need to have some working knowledge of story.
Mhm.
So anybody can go to grad school and take up something, but it
Mm.
helps if you have a really understanding of a story circle, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, or if you want to do Don Harmon's or Michael Haig, any of those guys. But you really need to have a command of story. There's
Mm.
two things that I think really kind of helped me. My mentor, which we get at UGA, was Christine Swanson. And
Yes.
Christine Swanson
Yes.
now, of course, even she, since 2019, she's
Mhm.
been a writer, director. She's done some great films, but
Mhm.
now she's directing a lot for major TV shows
That's amazing. Yeah.
all over the country. So I always say we kind of graduated differently. She was already established, but she had four kids, and I had two kids. So I understood, what was I going to be able to really get from her? And one of the things that she said, I think that unlocked writing for me was stories are about specifically people moving towards what they want. And you have to throw enough obstacles in front of them so they can discover what they really need.
Yes.
And that one statement was allowed me to go back to my laptop, pick up Final Draft, and really started honing my craft and taking a look at characters in a much different way than I had approached to. Because TV is has to be character driven, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Um, in film, it's still character driven, but this overarching story, you've got 90 minutes to tell an overarching story, where TV is about procrastination. So I already understood act structure from a film perspective, as well as structure from a TV and what made them different, and even what TV is single cam versus multicam. But the program allowed me to be with like-minded people, right, and um, understand that watching TV or watching films wasn't going to make me a better screenwriter. What made me a better screenwriter was reading more scripts. And so that's always my advice to everyone. Just read as many scripts as you can.
That's great advice, and the program is great. I'm glad that I got to sit in on a few classes with my dad. I had a lot of fun
Oh, good,
and learned a
good.
lot
Oh,
about
good,
learning myself.
good, good, good. Are you writing? Do you want to
My
write?
dad and I have a movie idea for Hallmark that we want to pitch at some point. We've only written one pitch
Ah,
so far, but that's
okay.
okay.
Okay, well, let me say this. Hallmark is not a three-act structure. Hallmark is a nine-act structure,
Yes.
which is far more difficult than a three-act or a five-act. And it's not that it's difficult in the sense of writing, but making sure your beats fall at a certain place. Hallmark is very, very specific.
Yes.
Just like Lifetime. Lifetime is
Yes,
another
they've
big
got a
network.
formula.
They have a formula, and you gotta practice that formula. Another one of our colleagues from UGA that's there now, Constance Birch, who created the show
Yep.
Charmed. Constance is working on. She's writing a film right now for Hallmark, and she's just like, "Is it me, or is this hard? Not hard." And I was just like, "Listen, Hallmark understands their brand. They know their
Yes.
audience better than anyone. It's
They do.
consistent. It's proven."
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to, know as a screenwriter that all writing is rewriting, right?
Yes.
And so that's where you want to, if you're writing for that specific network, then you want to, if you can get your hands on, they're not necessarily available online, but if you can get your hands on a Hallmark outline, it will help you a lot.
Yeah. That's what I love about Hallmark. You always, or usually, what the outcome of the movie is going to be. There's always a happy ending.
Yes, always a happy ending.
Yes.
It's not about tears. You can make someone cry, but it's
Yes.
more it's about joy and
Yes.
fulfillment and family,
Yeah.
multi-generational audience, and that's you have to be true to that. You can't have malice or strife or what I
Mhm.
call those things that people don't go watch Hallmark to know that their lives are crap.
Mm.
People watch Hallmark because they want to be inspired.
Uplifted.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they want to be uplifted and making sure that,
Mhm.
from a structural standpoint, you're making that character grow or those
Mm.
characters grow. No backbiting and fighting. I mean, I used to, when I was writing, I told my husband, I said, well, the biggest obstacle I can have is a wheel, maybe the wheel coming off the wheelbarrow, something like that. But it can't be no cat fighting, all of those other
Yeah.
things. You have to be very, very specific, and I'm really very fortunate to have been asked by Hallmark to write this. So it's a great story. I hope everybody enjoys it.
Yeah. I'm glad that you are getting to write for Hallmark because they're
Yeah,
like network.
they are very, very good network. I talked to my lead, Denise Boutte. She called me from LA, and of course,
Aw.
because of SAG, she's not able to
Yes.
promote the way that she wants to. But this, we have a billboard. There's Hallmark. They
Mm-hmm.
spent dollars. There's billboard in Hollywood for this film, and it's I think it's beautiful. We shot it in Okanagan Falls and Pawtucket, Canada, which is about 3 driving hours, maybe 3 to 5 driving hours. I did not drive from Vancouver. I flew. I flew a much smaller plane.
Oh, wow.
One of the things you get off in Vancouver,
Yeah.
and then you go to this gate, and you're like, well, "Where's the plane?" And somebody says, "That's the plane," and you're like, "Uh-huh. This has propellers. There's no
Well,
jet to." But
well,
it's beautiful, beautiful.
my goodness. I'm sure it is. I've heard that parts of Canada are just beautiful. The
Yes,
Vancouver Island,
yes,
Toronto.
yes.
Those are just a
It's
few
really
that are
beautiful.
coming to mind.
And
Yeah.
it's, I was just like, well, why are we shooting this? This is Napa Ever After, but tax credits and all those things. Okay, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I get it. But here's what was shocking. We started shooting in May. We finished in the 1st of June, and it was like 93 degrees. It was hot.
Wow.
It was hot, 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 hot. And then
Wow.
I went back to, I live in Santa Barbara, and I went back to Santa Barbara, and it was just like 63 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
Right? And Santa Barbara is considered lower central
Yeah.
coast, upper southern of California. Depends on who you ask. But it was much cooler. So the the terrain. We even saw grizzly bear. That's
Wow.
something. So
Yeah,
it was just
that is
it was really
that
nice.
is something.
It was nice to
Aw.
be on set and be able to um, watch your story come to life. It's a very
That's
surreal feeling,
amazing.
right? Very surreal.
Before we get into a little bit more of Napa Ever After, from what I understand, you've had a pretty exciting life. Even before UGA, you had been making waves in the industry as a filmmaker, writer, and political activist. Can you share with us some of the highlights of your life and career and tell us a little bit about your documentary, Maynard, which, by the way, my dad says is one of the best documentaries he's seen?
Oh, that's so sweet. I love Greg. He's so sweet. Yes. So I actually got into this industry in 1992. I was in, after graduating from college, I moved to Los Angeles and I became the assistant to the executive vice president of what's now Sony Pictures
Oh,
TV. Back then,
wow.
it was TriStar Television. And TriStar Television and Columbia Pictures Television were basically sisters under the same umbrella, right? And so I cut my teeth. It's interesting. It's a very full circle moment of 31 years, but I cut my teeth making made for television movies, right? Which is what Hallmark is, right? Made for television movies.
Yes.
So I cut my teeth in that and did that for a while. And then when I left California to move back to Georgia, I went to work for Turner Broadcasting and I was a producer there within that space. And then around 2001, I started a company that is since dissolved, but we were a production, post production facility here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we had edit bays, we would edit, and we did faith based programming, right? And
Mhm.
so I had a number, I think maybe 10 clients. And
Wow.
so we kind of serviced TBN, Daystar, INSP, a lot of the biggest faith-based networks, Rhema TV, which is in South Africa, QTQ, which is in Australia. So I did faith-based programming for a lot of talented
That's amazing.
um, people. Yeah. So that went on till about 2015,
Wow.
and I would still crew up for other independents. So as Georgia began to become more on the scene with unscripted programming, I would help to crew up and do those types of things, indie films. And then in I guess it was January of 2015, my husband, who is Maynard Jackson III, who's
Mm.
his father was the first African American mayor of any southern city. And that city, of course, is Atlanta. And Atlanta was considered um, the gateway, if you will, to the South in terms of politics and corporate America. This become, of course, is the home of Coca-Cola. It's the
Wow.
home of Chick-fil-A,
Yes.
so many Delta Airlines. And
Yeah.
so we did the documentary Maynard. We premiered at Doc NYC in the fall of
Wow.
2017. Um, and it was myself and my husband produced it. It was directed by Academy Award nominee Sam Pollard. Sam has been nominated for 3 Academy Awards. He's won 9 Primetime Emmys and 7 Peabody Awards.
Wow.
So it was really in one of the best experiences of my life. And so Sam became my mentor. Sam was a documentarian, but he's also a college professor.
Oh, that's pretty
And
cool.
that's how I ended up getting to UGA.
Oh,
Just talking about my future, what I wanted to do. He said, well, you could always go back and go to grad school. And so that's how I ended up at UGA. And I continued to, of course, to work. Had another documentary, Welcome to Pine Lake, which is still streaming on Paramount Plus.
wow.
Right now, executive produced Carterland, which is the official documentary of President Jimmy Carter. Um, I did a short called The Invitation last year, which is a doc short about two women who created an organization called the Philadelphia Club that grew to 17,000 members
Wow.
75 years later. And that membership includes the current Vice President of the United States, Stacey Abrams, Misty Copeland, Rosa Parks. So it's had it was, and the reason why these women gathered was to make change in their communities, and to allow access for Black women. So I did that, and now when I moved to right after I graduated with your dad, I got an offer to become a professor at University of California, Santa Barbara, and I literally applied. When you think about divine timing, I applied on a Monday. They called me on a Tuesday. I interviewed that Wednesday. They checked my references that Thursday. They hired me that Friday, and I moved to Santa Barbara 3 weeks later. So I'm a huge believer that your gift will make room for you, right? And God has a way of really seeing he sees your heart and what you want to do. I always said, when I thought about movies, the kind of movies that I want to do, I love Nancy Meyer movies. What can I tell you? It's complicated. Something's got to give. Parent Trap, Father of the Bride,
Love the Parent
The
Trap.
Holiday.
That's
right?
one of my favorites. Yeah.
And that's Nancy Meyers. And so I'm old enough to be able to say, hey, I want to make the movies that I want to make. I want to talk about love. I love rom-coms, right?
Yes, me too. Yeah.
And so I think it's time for us to really bring rom-coms back.
Yeah.
We miss, and when you think about it, they made the careers of people like Kate Hudson and Julia Roberts, right?
Yeah.
Those big rom-coms. So that's where I've kind of targeted my writing. I just wrote the Ella Fitzgerald Marilyn Monroe, which is a big drama, with my friend Gigi Lavangi. Gigi Lavangi wrote the movie Stepmom, if you've seen that, with Susan Sarandon, Ed Harris, and Julia Roberts. So she and I wrote that. It's a limited series together, and excited that we have Robin Roberts of GMA as
she's great.
Yes, she is. I love Robin.
Yes.
She's our executive producer, and along with Cheryl Bayer and Debbie Allen, who's showrunner for Grey's Anatomy, is our showrunner for the show. So now we're packaging and getting all of that and moving that forward. But I've been in this industry for as a long time. I started as an assistant and became a associate producer to writer to director, and so that's where I am now.
You worked your way up. That's amazing.
Worked my way up. I'm not an overnight success.
No, it takes
I'm a slow gumbo.
Definitely takes time. And to quote my favorite show/movie series on Hallmark, Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Yes.
But always trust the timing.
Always trust the timing.
Yes.
That's right. That's so true. Always trust the timing.
Going into Napa Ever After this Saturday is the premiere, which of course you wrote the movie, which we have talked about, which is very exciting. I remember one of your table reads at Georgia was from a high-intensity police drama that you were working on. What inspired you to do a total 180 with Napa? In other words, how did you end up writing a Hallmark feature?
I was actually asked by the senior vice president of Hallmark to write.
Oh, yes, you mentioned that. Yes.
They wanted to do something for the summer, right? Have a summer release for this is in 2023. And we talked about different ideas. So the first African American female to ever own a winery lives in Santa Barbara County, where I live. Her name is Iris Rudeau. Iris is 86, I believe. So she had Rudeau Vineyards, which is still in existence. So Rudeau Wine and Vineyards in Santa Barbara County. It's really, really good. And Iris has since then become a great friend. And this is not her story, but using what I learned from her about sommeliers and how she took a vineyard that was dilapidated, was not creating a harvest and poured everything she had into that vineyard to make it work. And so that's the genesis of where Napa Ever After. Napa. When you write about things, typically things that you know, right?
Yeah.
You can write and you can create from the top of your brain, but in creating characters that people are going to love and trust and empathize with and want to really move on their journey, it needs to come from somewhere. And
Mhm.
so for me, it was very natural. I live in Santa Barbara County, where we grow wine.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by nothing but vineyards. So really understanding that process and having that level of access gave me the research that I needed to do. And because I'm married with 2 children, I know a little bit about love, and I know about finding love in places that you don't traditionally look, right? Sometimes you have a type. I want them to be 6 feet. I want them to have green eyes. I want them to. And so, but sometimes what's the best for you,
Yeah.
God brings in a different package. And
Yes.
so then what you wanted, but God knows what you need. And so, in God bringing me what I need, I was able to take that part of the story for me and infuse it into Napa Ever After. And so, it's good. It's really good. I think it's family. It's warm. It's funny. It's got a little bit of a taste of girlfriends, because we have our girlfriends that we want to
Yes.
confide in, and some of them chasing us and say you must be crazy. But it's light. It's fun, and I really hope everybody enjoy it.
I think everyone will. I'm excited to see it. And I really enjoyed a lot of the movies that Hallmark has put out about vineyards. They've all
Hmm.
been pretty good, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes, a new love and a new pairing. I think that's the
Yeah.
tagline that Hallmark came up
Oh,
with,
I love
which
that.
is which is true. So it's interesting. When I was on set, they had these bottles. So the name of the vineyard that I created is called Eli, and Eli. My maiden name is Eli, but when people read it, they would always call it Eli. So I was like, when I was thinking about what do I name a vineyard, it's Eli Vineyard.
I love that. And
So, it's like, oh, it's so it's so the guy that is the showrunner and creator of the Wonder Years,
oh,
Saladin Patterson. Hi, Saladin. Just as my daughter was like, just like my photo. I think
oh,
I know what that photo is.
I love that.
But great. And he went to MIT.
Oh,
Great writer. And let me say this, part of this journey for me for Napa Ever After is understanding that there's no director, there's no producer, there's no sound, there's no anything. Everything starts with you as the writer. What's
yes.
the story that you want to tell? And how do you want people to feel? And what's the theme? And um, I just sit in a place of gratitude for uh, the executives at Hallmark allowing me to make this movie. So
I'm excited for you about the opportunity. It's going to be great.
thank you.
And I'm also excited to see Colin in another movie. He's one of my favorites. I know him
Yes.
from a couple Hallmark movies and then Virgin
Mhm,
River as well, which is
mhm.
on Netflix. He's
He
great.
is. As a matter of fact, I just
Fantastic.
saw he and his family, his wife and kids, they're over in Europe right now on vacation.
That's amazing.
And I saw where they got a pickup for their third season for Netflix. So I'm really happy
That's
and
amazing.
excited for him. He's an
He's
amazing
fantastic.
actor. And even more than that, he's just a good person.
He does
You
seem
know,
like a very kind person from what I can.
I I will tell you this experience, everyone, the cast, the crew, they were exceptionally kind. And you can get on sets and people can be,
Yeah.
some things happen, but it's sometimes how you respond to. And I will say, in even the most difficult or the challenging times, everyone, cast and crew, responded favorably with
That's
kindness,
awesome to hear.
and we kept it moving. So, yes, for all of those that thinks that everybody in Hollywood is just awful, wrong, no. There's some really, really incredible
There is.
people. You just
Yeah.
want to be on a great team, right?
Yes.
That's the big thing. You really
Yeah.
want to be on a great team.
Agreed. And I know firsthand from meeting a couple of the Hallmark actors at a convention last summer. They're some of the kindest people in
They
the
are.
industry I've ever met.
They really are. They really are. Which makes it, you want to write your next. And so I'm thinking, so the golden ticket for most people that write for Hallmark is everybody wants to write a Hallmark Christmas story.
Yes.
And that's not as easy, right? Because Hallmark understands, like I said, they know their brand.
Mhm.
And you have to be that writer that knows how to hit exactly what, you know, the audience is looking for.
Yeah.
So that's one of I've got another one that I'm writing for them now. We're kind of midstream trying to see what we're doing after this strike, but then I've came up with my daughter helped me
Oh,
come up with something um, that's very sweet about a good Christmas movie. So I'll run that by them after I get through this Napa
right.
wave.
Yes. Hallmark has been doing a lot of promoting for Napa. Is this your first feature film?
This is my first feature film.
That's amazing.
This is my first feature. So I mean, listen. There are more people that watch Hallmark every day than HBO.
Agree.
So it's a big audience,
Yes.
and I just hope it doesn't disappoint. Yeah.
I don't think it will. The movies usually do pretty well. I
Yes.
can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, they've really they're marketing this beyond, I think, any of our wildest expectations. So I think they
Yes.
think there's something pretty special about it.
I think so too. We were even watching the new episode of When Calls the Heart on Sunday, and I think it played pretty much every commercial break almost, which
Oh
was great.
wow. Wow, 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 wow.
During filming, did the director ask you to make any changes and did they cut any of your scenes?
So let me say this. When you when you're filming, there are lots of scenes that get cut.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just about time, and sometimes it's about pacing, and some things, you know, after you've read it, it's redundant. It's a redundant point, right?
Hmm.
And so I always say there's three big storytellers. There's the screenwriter, there's the director, and then there's the editorial. So
Hmm.
some things that I won't say a lot, not a lot got left, but things that was redundant, not needed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
those things move to the cutting floor.
Yes, that's understandable because you
Right,
can't include everything. You need to
right.
always include the most important parts of the story.
That's right.
How do you feel about the casting? Do the characters seem to fit what you envisioned when you were writing the script?
That's a good question. Yes, they do. Denise Boutet, who's the lead, she definitely this was a very emotional experience for her to be able to do this particular film, but she nailed it. Colin Land nailed it. Tiffany, Yvonne Cox, they all did. Um, uh, I will say not one person disappointed. They
Oh,
all
that's
delivered.
great.
We had a really a phenomenal EP, Tia Smith, and the DP was, and as well as the director, but they were really amazing. But the cast, they delivered,
That's
and they delivered quickly. You didn't have 100 takes of one thing, so
yeah,
that was great because it was
that's
really
great.
hot.
I'm sure it was.
So they delivered, and I'm very proud of that.
That's great. So, what's next for Wendy Jackson? You mentioned you were working on another project for Hallmark, but is there
I
any
am
other?
another project for Hallmark, the other one, the limited series that I wrote. Another executive for another studio is talking to me. Let's say before the strike, started talking to me about developing a drama, um, which I'm able to do. Let me say this: one of my I love watching. I mentioned love watching rom coms, and so I'm looking to try to write a Christmas movie,
Oh,
a Mother's Day movie, a Halloween movie, a Valentine's movie and a Thanksgiving movie. That's what I'm challenging myself
That'll
to
be
hit
great.
all the holidays. And I think I should do a Father's Day movie. I'm a daddy's girl forever. My dad was a girl dad.
Yeah.
And I think I want to do something that um, really celebrates men and fatherhood. Because, they always say mothers get all the roses and fathers might get a pair of socks. Well, I believe, there's some amazing, like your dad, there's some amazing dads out there.
Yes.
And I didn't grow up, we were okay, right? And if any lack that we had, I really didn't know. And you'll see when you see Napa Ever After, the Collins role he's a widowed father that has a daughter. And that comes from my dad. My dad was a widower, left to raise a little girl by himself because my mom died when I was young. And so I think I want to um, celebrate the dads that show up for their children, their community, their family. And so that's also on my list of things to write about.
How can we follow you on social media to stay up to date on your projects and your work?
It's my name, Wendy Ely, Eley, Wendy Ely Jackson. I'm on Instagram. I am on Threads, but I don't use it. I mean,
I'm on it, but I hardly use it.
And I'm on Facebook. Everything is just my name, Wendy Ely Jackson. And I'm easy to find. Drop me a line. I actually respond. When people are in my DMs, I actually respond to it, which always blows people away. So respond.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Wendy. I had a great time chatting with you, and I hope you will come back soon and keep us up to date on all that you're doing.
Absolutely. And make sure you send me a copy of this so I can send it to
Of course. I will post it on Instagram as soon as it's up, and I will tag you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole. Of course. Bye, audience. We thank you. Make sure you continue to follow Nicole's podcast.
Thank you. All right, Hallmarkies. I think that wraps up my interview with Wendy Jackson. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. And if you enjoyed this episode, you can like this video. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my episodes, you can subscribe to this channel. I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.